Well, tonight, Channel 5 News investigation exposes what the Cameron County Sheriff tried to keep quiet. Allegations of abuse behind bars.
We have been looking into this for more than a month now. Channel 5's Will Ripley is at the Rucker-Carrizales Rucker Detention Center. Will?
Here on the outside, it's hard to know exactly what goes on behind these walls and barbed wire fences. On the inside, inmates tell stories of violence, intimidation, and cover-ups.
They don't have to explain to nobody, and they make that very clear to us.
A former jail guard confirms the trouble inside.
A lot of things that goes out there that sheriff don't even know about it.
We asked the sheriff for an explanation. That was more than a month ago. He tried to stop us from telling you this story.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything. I told you you don't have a story, and I'm not going to make a story out of that.
During 2 phone calls in late September, Cameron County Sheriff Omar Lucio became aggressive.
What's the matter with you? What's the matter with your editor?
He turned down our interview request and warned us not to go any further with our investigation.
Well, I'm sorry if you do that, Will, then you're going to be in bed with my office.
His chief deputy, Gus Reyna, told us if we run the story, Channel 5 will be stonewalled by the sheriff's office. We're not going to get any more news from you guys.
No, you will not.
We won't get any more news from you guys if we were to run this story.
Put it in writing, and we will give it back to you within 10 working days.
It almost sounds like you're threatening me that if I run this...
No, absolutely not. It's just the way it is.
We showed our recorded phone calls to Cameron County Judge Carlos Cascos.
It never looks good when you don't want to talk to the media about an issue like this, because right away someone's going to say, well, there must be something to hide.
We kept digging, working to get answers. Finally, on Monday, just 3 days before our investigation, Sheriff Lucio agreed to answer our questions. Do you have anything to hide?
No, I don't have anything to hide.
So tonight, the sheriff responds to these allegations. Allegations that inmates are not just being abused, they're being tortured. After what they call years of suffering in silence, tonight, for the first time, you'll hear the voices behind the wall.
I think I'm speaking out for every other inmate who never gets a chance to.
He's inmate number 092094. His name is Eric Gonzalez.
They've abused me so much, they can't do nothing else to me.
Gonzalez is in jail. He served 5 months on a parole violation. He says some jail guards are abusing their authority.
3 or 4 officers attack one inmate, kicking him in the face and hitting him throwing him to the ground and punching him and kicking him. They'll spray him with mace, they'll cuff him, and then they'll throw him in a room or a holding cell and leave him there for hours. I'm talking about 6, 7 hours at a time, cuffed and shackled, where they can't clean their face off.
Well, for as long as they're maced, it's burning them.
And they just leave him like that?
Oh, yeah. It seemed like torture me.
Rick asked us to hide his face and change his name. He worked as a Cameron County jail guard for 8 months until he was fired. He says he did nothing wrong. His supervisor had a problem with him. You knew that if you said anything, you'd get fired?
Oh, yeah. They can wash their hands with anybody they want.
Rick says he saw guards treat inmates worse than animals.
They can gang up on any inmate they want.
So you've actually seen guards provoke inmates on purpose just to get a reaction?
Oh, yeah.
And then spray them with mace?
Yeah, they mace them up.
Why do they do that?
To have fun, I guess.
That's what Julie says happened to her brother.
Torture.
She and her mom are hiding their faces, afraid of retaliation.
Took him in there and they had maced him and they put the mask on his face.
He thought he was going to die. He thought he was going to die that night.
We asked Sheriff Lucio if beating, macing, and masking inmates is standard procedure.
To my knowledge, that does not happen. To my knowledge.
Does that concern you?
Well, this is the first thing that was brought to my attention.
If it is happening, would that concern
I will look into it.
Is this tree in here?
Mary Ray says her son, Randall Bolivar, was brutally beaten by 6 jail guards and a sergeant.
It's very difficult to talk about.
Ray gave us her son's medical records from the time of his alleged beating. The documents show on September 19th, after an altercation, Bolivar was brought to the infirmary in a wheelchair, screaming and crying. An ambulance was called, and he was taken to the hospital. The medical records don't say what started the fight or who was involved. Chief Deputy Gus Reyna gave us this explanation.
He's assaulted two of my detention guards.
The former jailer tells a different story. He says Bolivar never assaulted anyone.
He had his leg irons on, his belt around his waist. He was shackled. There's no way he can move. There's no way he can be combative like that.
What happened that day? Why did he end up in the hospital?
I don't know. I don't have that information available.
Ray believes the attack on her son was unprovoked.
I fear for his life.
The sheriff says his staff did nothing wrong.
We're not dealing with kids from the playground. We're dealing with sometimes hardened criminals.
Bolivar is waiting to go on trial for murder, evading arrest, and causing an injury accident.
I am well aware of what he's accused of. However, he is a human being just like everybody else.
Ray called the Texas Rangers to complain. The Rangers told Channel 5 News they did investigate, but closed the case without inspecting the jail or talking to any inmates. They said Bolivar refused to cooperate.
Nobody wants to do anything. They don't want to get involved. They don't care.
Other allegations about the jail include substandard health care, inmates getting the wrong medications, guards turning off the water for as long as 27 hours. Rick says most of it is hidden from the sheriff.
If it's something that is going to look good on their behalf, it goes to the sheriff's office. If something that's going to look bad on their behalf, it just gets thrown away.
Is it possible that there are incidents that have happened that you don't know about?
You know, when you ask possible, anything is possible. Or you're asking me if there has some incidents where we feel that maybe we should look into it? Yes, I think we look into it, and I've just mentioned it at the top, that if we do, and if we find that there's something that is not proper, we will find criminal charges and we will dismiss him.
Channel 5 News has learned the Texas Attorney General's office is investigating at least one claim of inmate abuse. We also checked with the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. They tell us routine inspections have turned up no major problems. Will Ripley, Channel 5 News at 10, Olmito.
And our investigation continues tonight at 10:30 with allegations from the women's jail. And you'll meet a man who says what's happening behind the wall is cruel and unusual punishment. That's tonight on Channel 5 News at 10:30.
Well, tonight, Channel 5 News investigates allegations of inmate abuse at the Cameron County Jail.
At 10, we told you about the men's jail. Now, a former female inmate speaks out. Channel 5's Will Ripley reports.
Donna Funky says music helps her forget the nightmare that began 2 years ago.
I was treated like a non-human. I was not human. I was a number.
The 70-year-old retired school teacher was arrested and booked in Cameron County. She was accused of hitting another senior citizen with her golf cart. Funky says it never happened. She's waiting to go to trial.
It took me 9 months to get out of the system.
Funky says she was abused and neglected during her time behind bars.
I was not given medication. I was not allowed to move.
She says inmates' medical needs were ignored. Cameron County Sheriff Omar Lucio says he doubts that.
Which I feel the infirmary is a top-notch infirmary.
I saw a lady fall out of the bunk and have a miscarriage, and we were told to clean her up.
What about claims that female inmates have had miscarriages at the jail? And the reply was clean her up.
That's not true.
Lucio says some of Funky's claims may be exaggerated. He pointed out, and she volunteered, she'd spent some time in a mental hospital. Lucio says his jail is run by the book.
We run a professional jail here.
Funky says inmates were forced to live without basic personal hygiene items like sanitary pads.
You had to go ask permission for a piece of toilet paper.
Are tampons available to female inmates who cannot afford them?
They are at all times. Not only that, but undergarments too. That's an issue that has been reported before. That's an issue that we have addressed time and time again.
Gail Hansen was a Cameron County jail minister for 8 years.
I always was distressed by the way the inmates were treated.
Hansen was banned from the jail in 2008 after speaking out about what she saw and heard. Inmates not getting medications.
Correct medications, yes.
A woman miscarried. A woman had a seizure. And what did the sheriff say when you told him about all this?
He pretty much told me to mind my own business.
An attorney with the South Texas Civil Rights Project says the sheriff violated Hansen's right to free speech.
She tried to speak out, and she's no longer allowed to go back.
Now they're suing to get Hansen back in. The sheriff won't comment about Hansen because of the pending lawsuit. In the past, he said he revoked her privileges because she was a threat to the safety and security of the jail. He also said she was too personally involved with inmates.
And there's certain things that are just fundamental dignity.
Brownsville attorney Ed Stapleton spent the last 30 years monitoring detention center conditions.
They're grossly in need of improvement.
He says he's very concerned about what's happening inside the Cameron County Jail.
Yeah, I think by definition it's cruel and unusual punishment. Even if they have committed the crime, that does not mean that they should be fair game for any type of abuse.
They still have rights, and those rights must be defended.
Cameron County Judge Carlos Gascos says he's concerned about allegations of abuse behind bars, but he also says jailers have a hard job.
They get abused, they get spat on, they get kicked, and a lot of these jailers hold back quite a bit.
The sheriff believes he has good people in place.
Many of my commenders, they've been here 20, 25 years, and they're still here. That means that they're doing an excellent job.
He says if he uncovers evidence his jailers are breaking the rules,
and we will not tolerate it.
Funky says her time behind the wall ruined her life.
I walked in there a healthy, vibrant, good-looking woman. I walked out of there without teeth.
She says she'll always have nightmares about the abuse. Will Ripley, Channel 5 News at 10:30, Brownsville.